goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show picture, a mad cacophony of film freaks and film fanatics of all types and creeds. I am your host, Reginald Bottomtooth, joined by my fellow co-host and degenerate Laine Williscroft.
You're not my real dad.
Not with that attitude. Now go out and chop firewood.
This show does not seem like my regularly scheduled program.
Not as good or better?
I'm going to say not as good. We're missing the third leg of this crazy tripod we call the Cinema Psycho Show.
Well, I would dare say the front leg, like without that, would just fall forward, you know. So let's just make sure that we try to stand up as straight as possible without our fearless leader.
Fair. All right. Fair. Now, you are not Sir Bottomtooth.
No, not yet. Not with that attitude.
Not yet. You're, in fact, John Williscroft.
Yes.
The husband, not brother, to me. Some people think we're brother and sister, and it's wrong. It's gross. Don't like it.
Well, slow down. Let's not yuck somebody else's yum.
Wow, I just threw up. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit of a kind of film catch-up, considering that there is, like, what's a movie theater?
Excuse me.
Like,
what's a movie theater?
You know, what is like going to a place in a quiet, dark room to watch things with strangers. It actually sounds kind of weird when you say it that way.
Honestly, I would just like to have like a little shout out to you, John, because I don't know anybody that likes going to the movies as much as you do. And the fact that it's been so long since you've been to a movie, I do feel bad for you. You know, like I know you're very lighthearted and jokey on the show, but a lot of people that listen to the show don't know this, but I mean, you usually, under perfect circumstances, John, you go to the movies like twice a week.
Yeah.
And you haven't done that since February?
Yeah. I think we saw Onward, and then like literally
you saw Onward because I wanted to.
Oh, I mean, it's one of them like Pixar movies, so you know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
But then like the next day they're like, don't ever step outside again. I'm like, oh great, I'm so glad I was in a movie theater.
No, seriously, it was the week that shit shut down that we saw Onward. Like it was like 2 days later that everyone was like, so this novel coronavirus might be kind of serious. And we were like, oh, fuck. So yeah, but it's a shame because I do enjoy going to the movies, but there's something also about it that kind of like makes me a little anxious, which is weird. I know that's weird, but
it's kind of fascinating too, like how many movies that they have, like, which is probably, I'd say 95% of the movies that Hollywood wanted to release, they've just pushed back, and some are later this year, some are next year. But it's
oh yeah,
it's always funny to me to see the ones that the studio decides to just fuck it, let's just put it on demand, and they must not think much of them in terms of financial success,
or they think they're going to break even and that the money's going to be about the same as what they would have done in the theater, honestly. Because
the two that we decided to watch, and I'm sure there's a ton of crap out there, but the two that we decided to watch is, you know, they were both very good. We'll get to them eventually, but it's strange to watch a movie at home that costs $20, even though that obviously just two people out, you'd probably spend more than that if you got concessions.
Oh yeah, well it's funny because too, I mean, the two of us, we're the people that look online several places for a movie before we rent it. Yeah. I mean, because what was it most recently? I wanted to watch The Witches again, and we looked in like 3 places to make sure that we had to spend the like $4 to rent it, right? You know, like we looked on Amazon, we looked on Netflix just to make sure nobody had it.
Well, shout out to Droid. Android will tell you if there's.
I know. And so we do that every time. And we look around every time, you know, oh, are you sure Hulu doesn't have it? So, I mean, you know.
Hulu always has it, though. But with like the Star 7-day free trial.
Oh, damn you, Star 7-day free trial. But yeah, I mean, you know, we're like a little tight with a penny. Not in a bad way. But, you know, like you said, John, to spend $20 on a film, it seems ridiculous. But in the case of something like Onward, which was released to digital very shortly after everything shut down, if you have like kids, I mean, honestly, it's a deal. It's a steal, really, because if you have 2 or 3 kids, or like our coworker Brian, who has 3 stepsons and his daughter, you think about 4 kids and 2 parents, $20 for a movie. It's amazing for a real like brand new release. It's crazy good.
Maybe got
Crazy
the popcorn and the jujubes already in the house,
right? Totally.
The Whoppers.
The Whoppers?
Whoppers. The malted candy.
I was like, why would you have burgers in the house? Okay, sorry. My bad. But yeah, I mean, it's a great deal. So in that case, it's not that big of a deal. But even for John and I, who are a 2-person family, I was thinking about it. And one of the last movies before Onward was The Invisible Man that we saw in a theater. And we paid $22.50 to see it.
Yeah.
Or no, $22 even, because the tickets were $11.50 a piece.
Yeah. And speaking of which, we saw that for the P.O. Vincent show, and that is back. So
yeah, P.O. Vincent.
Definitely check him out. He's got a lot of cool insights on film as well, and he's got kind of like a new, program
host.
set up. Yeah, and a new host. So
very cool.
Co-host, I should say.
Or co-host. Yes, he's a co-host now.
He's the man.
He's the man. He is the Vincent. It's his P.O. of Vincent.
But
so yeah, it's interesting to spend a little bit more money on something that's just come out.
Well, there was also like Trolls World War.
What? You mean World Tour?
It looked like a world war to me.
I've been locked in the house during quarantine with John, sealed up alone with no one to call for help. I mean, what? There's been this rage inside of John over the Trolls movie that I don't really understand. He has been upset every single time an ad for the Trolls movie has come on. Please, someone send for help. Please, someone come save me.
Well, there was a trailer when we went to see Onward back in like, what was that, early March or whatever?
Yeah, we're at the week that shit shut down. We've just been over this, John. Did you black out?
And I asked you, like, would you be mad if I killed myself? Because the trailer made me want to just commit, horrible, violent suicide.
Yeah, I mean, not to be dramatic or anything.
Oh, no, I didn't want to just die suddenly. I wanted it to be painful.
Right. Yeah. Well, then every time an ad on TV came for it, when it started to say, like, releasing in like your home or something, I forget how they started phrasing it. Yeah. And then John would just get this like dead look in his eye and start reaching for the scissors. And I was like, we need medical intervention immediately. I need help.
It's like that movie, The Dead Zone, where the guy set up the scissors and had like the leather coat and like jammed his head into them.
Mm-hmm. If someone could just like maybe send some help, that would be great.
I think it was like the movie theater in your house or something like that.
It's been
something like that. Is the
over 100 days I've been alone with him. Everyone.
But yeah, it's been interesting that they haven't tried to release anything. I would say a bigger stature, like it's what Black Widow is supposed to come out in March.
Oh, yeah, that's been pushed to next year.
I think it's been pushed to like November, because the thing is, Marvel has a whole slate of 2021 movies. I think they want to try to push out the ones that were supposed to come out this year. I'm
surprised that they haven't pushed more to Disney Plus, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I kind of get it.
$6 gazillion again, Hamilton.
Well, I don't think Hamilton was supposed to come out when it did. I think that was a move of like goodwill to kind of keep us all from like, reaching for the scissors. I think that was to kind of keep everybody to like maybe be a little happier than they've been. I am surprised that there hasn't been more, push to streaming platforms. But there's a lot of science behind streaming. And I know, John, I don't know if we've talked about it on the show before, but I know you and I talk about this a lot just in our lives, because we muse about this stuff all the time. Just, on a Thursday while we're like hanging out, because that's what we talk about in our free time. But I know one of the things that we've talked about before is that it's not lucrative for streaming services to have things for too long. And I imagine it's not lucrative for them to not have things at the right
Netflix.
time. Right. But I mean, there's got to be science behind every streaming service and every new content, right? That's got to be a thing. Because Netflix, I was about to say, if you'd let me finish. So for something like Netflix, they usually don't carry a series past 3 seasons because it's not lucrative for them to do so. Now, this is for a couple specific reasons. One of them being that the actors will get bonuses after a 3rd season, that the payoff of subscribers to the series cost just doesn't even out anymore. But there's got to be more math of subscribers to a new entity and like what, Disney movie money, Marvel movie money has got to cost, that I'm sure that they need the ticket sales more, because if you see $1 amount ahead, like you need that $11.50, $12.50 a person over something like $6.99 a household for the month. Like the money, the math doesn't work out. You need those ticket sales, I think, over something like a subscription service,
because they gouge the movie theaters too.
Absolutely. And two, I mean, like, people share passwords. I don't want to like scandalize you, John, but people share passwords too. So,
and that's, you kind of hit it on, Laine, when like Netflix and stuff like Stranger Things. If you don't have Netflix for Stranger Things yet, you're not going to get it for the 4th season. Now, Stranger Things is one of their biggest ones, so I feel like they feel they'd have a mutiny on their hands if they let that one go, or like Amazon would pick it up or something, and they feel like. But yeah, the idea is that like, okay, we bait people in with our fishing lure here, and then once we have them, then we throw that one away, and then we just put something else to bait more people in, because Netflix is just hemorrhaging money.
Well, and two, I think it's genius with something like a streaming service, because all of the viewership does their marketing for them, because something hits big, it goes viral. And that's exactly what happened with Stranger Things. I remember I was still working for the e-retailer that I used to work for, and everybody in the office was talking about it. I was working in a very close-knit office at the time, and everybody I worked with, they could talk about nothing else because they were just so sucked in. They were so excited about it. They loved it. And I mean, that's your advertising. Netflix didn't have to do anything or spend a single marketing dollar. And same thing with, what was that thing with Sandra Bullock and the can't see
Bird Box?
Yeah. So like, you have everybody doing your marketing dollars for you. Even something as simple as creating a meme. People want to look that up. They want to be in on the joke. They want to know what's going on. So they get Netflix to see it.
Like the Bird Box Challenge or whatever. I think Netflix created that and just sent it out like it was
like
everybody's idea.
They don't have to spend a single marketing dollar because they have viewership that'll do it for you. And I mean, sometimes stubbornly, I don't like talking about TV on social media because you know what? If I'm going to do marketing for you, like, pay me for my time. Controversial take, I know.
Or Netflix, just give me a free subscription to Netflix and I'll plug you every goddamn week. Because I'm a whore. But see, I don't know about these like common like things that people want to do. I just got into planking. That's what everybody's into, right?
Yeah, in like 2009.
But yeah, the movies that we did get kind of caught up on here is King of Staten Island and the from Judd Apatow, but really is kind of the Pete Davidson vehicle. And we saw Jon Stewart's Irresistible, which,
very different movies.
So let's kind of break it down real quick before we talk about each movie. It's like, so I guess they were thinking that, okay, Judd Apatow movie hasn't had like a big, hit out the park for a while, and Pete Davidson's kind of niche.
Right.
We could probably afford to send this one out.
Yeah, it wasn't big star power for this one. It wasn't like, a big like Seth Rogen thing. It wasn't like a huge star in it, because like you said, Pete Davidson, he is from SNL. He is kind of niche. He's a comedian, and he's not everyone's cup of tea, I think is fair to say.
He kind of reminds me of a much more talented Pauly Shore. Like, people either like love him or they fucking hate him. Like, I can't. It's not even no fun and funny. I can't stand him.
Right. I see what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, then Jon Stewart's new movie. I mean, I don't know if he played any role in that or if they just decided that like
at the production level.
The guy from The Daily Show who only directed one other movie. Like, right. And it's a political satire movie that doesn't have like Will Ferrell like farting, or falling down. Like, maybe this one we can get away with streaming. Hot take: Will Ferrell hasn't been funny in 20 years.
Wow, hot take. Wow. All right. So
go back. And people who think, oh, John, how dare you, go back through his IMDb.
You can tweet John at the Unreal J Bulls.
But yeah, so King of Staten Island, I'll say right off the bat, I am a Pete Davidson fan.
And I will say that I am a selective Pete Davidson fan. I will say right off the bat that I am not off-put by gallows humor or his darkness per se. I just don't always think that he's funny. And one of the things that was upfront about this movie, it was the story of a young man baby trying to get his shit together, and that's a story I've seen told before. It's not my favorite story.
Right, but it's not literally autobiographical, but it hits on
I didn't say that it was.
Yeah.
I'm saying I've seen that story before.
Yeah. But I'm
Not
saying
my
I think
favorite.
that adds a nice little bonus to it, that if you know that it's connected very closely to Pete Davidson's actual life.
Right. But at this point, I'm talking about the director. I feel like Judd Apatow has told this story many times.
What? Judd Apatow tells a story about like man babies who talk to each other in pop culture quotes, and then they have to like grow up because suddenly something happens in their life where they find love. That doesn't sound like a Judd Apatow
Or
movie
suddenly
I've ever
something
seen.
happens where they just massively need to get their shit together. Yeah. I've seen this story told before by this filmmaker.
Well,
so
at least they got the right guy for the job, right?
It's true. And I thought that there were some interesting things, like you said, the autobiographical parts of Pete Davidson. So for anyone that's not familiar with Pete Davidson's background, very specific and interesting backstory on Pete Davidson. His father died in 9/11. He was a firefighter and died in 9/11 trying to help.
Now in the movie, his father just dies like
In a fire.
Yeah, it's not 9/11.
His father's still a firefighter in the film, but he just dies in a fire. I think that the baggage of 9/11 is a little bit much for the movie. In real life, Pete's really open about it, which I think for the film you would kind of have to be. But they took a lot of things that I've seen in Pete's stand-up before. Did you notice that? Because Pete has a 40-minute special right now on Netflix, I think. I didn't really like his stand-up special, and I like some of the stuff that he does on SNL, but
Was it Alive from New York?
I think so.
It was shortly after like his suicide scare.
Yeah, because too, like Pete's been pretty open about his struggle with mental health, his struggle with, I would say, like pharmaceuticals, drugs.
Well,
etc.
I mean, there are some illegal. I think you kind of are hitting on the fact that he's on a lot of prescription medications too.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So I mean,
Like
there's
schizophrenia medication.
Is
and
it? I mean, I
bipolar
really
medication, something. Yeah,
I really
I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really don't know what's going on with Pete. In that sense, I know there's a lot of darkness there. I know that he has tried a couple of times to kill himself. He's threatened a couple of times to kill himself. There's a lot going on there. In real life.
Well, it's strange with the movie though that like the idea he's this man baby that needs to make something of himself, and like even if it was almost just kind of accidental, like Pete was snatched out of the comedy clubs in his early 20s. Like he's an extremely young dude, and he's been on SNL for like 8 years or something. Let me see how old he is here.
Yeah,
he's 26 years old. He's been on the show since I think he was like 19 or 20.
Yeah, and
it's not like he's actually been struggling like his character in the movie. Yeah,
I think that part's not autobiographical. Like his character isn't very successful, but Pete is. But I think that the thread there is maybe imposter syndrome. Feeling like a failure, feeling like you have too much going on, to handle and whatnot. So it's not a play-by-play of his real life by any means, and I don't think it's meant to be. Pete's character in the movie still lives at home with his mom, and his little sister is going off to college, which, Pete tried to go to college, but he failed out. He wanted to, be an artist. He wants to be a tattoo artist specifically.
And his tattoos are terrible.
He's not very good, but he does have some talent. He just can't seem to kind of, I don't know, buckle down. That's like such a weird, like parent thing to say. If you just buckle down,
pick yourself up by your bootstraps, Shunny.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that like, I don't know, people say it, weirds me out. But if he were to just really, be able to focus more. But what's happened is ever since his dad died, he's kind of just used that as an excuse to not live his own life.
Yeah.
And it's about his relationship with his mom, played by Marissa Tomei.
Her new boyfriend, Bill, the incredible Bill Burr.
Oh, he was so good in this.
Yeah.
He was so good in this. And then his little sister, quote unquote, who's, going off to college and is like 18, 19.
You mean Judd's daughter?
She's played by one of Judd Apatow's daughters. I don't remember which one she was. But she was, she was one of the daughters, obviously, in Knocked Up and the other movies that, he has his daughters in. I don't know. I don't remember. I know he's had his daughters
This is
in.
40 and...
Right. And I know he's had his daughters and stuff before. So it was interesting because then John said that after the fact when we watched the movie. He's like, that was one of his daughters. And I was like, what? And I did that old people thing where I was like, oh my God, I remember when she was little. It was bad.
The thing about this movie is like, and I don't mean this in a negative way because it's going to sound bad, but this is a meandering movie. Like this is about
Character study.
Yeah. Because like, eventually, it's all about Pete Davidson's character Scott, like his relationship with everybody in the movie, his mom's new boyfriend, his on and off girlfriend, because like he can't commit to saying that like she's his girlfriend, Belle Pally, who plays Kelsey, and he walks like Bill Burr's kids, like his kids from his previous marriage, like to school, and his relationship with them, like, so it's just kind of like, it's kind of a movie where you get to see Scott grow through all the relationships he has in his life. There's not like, it's not Die Hard where there's a specific plot and point to point to point.
I was going to say, if you're looking for the script with plot point A, plot point B, 3 acts, like you're not going to get it. And I don't mind it. I don't mind a script like this as long as you do have strong characters. If you do see somewhat of a character arc and you do see good dialogue. I thought that the dialogue was really strong in this because it was pretty clever, but I also felt like a lot of it was the way people talk.
Yeah, it wasn't your typical Apatow movie where it was like a ton of like freaks and geeks, alumni just trying to outdo each other on improv.
And it wasn't like Joss Whedon where everybody talks the exact same way,
Smugly intelligent, full of pop culture references.
Yeah, lots of news coming out about him being super gross. Didn't see that coming. Spoiler alert. I totally saw that coming.
You just raspberried into your microphone.
I did. But I did feel like it was the way people talk in real life, especially when the friends of Scott, right?
Yes.
When Scott and his friends were together, I thought that was really how people talk, how people joke around and stuff. And of course, because John and I are dark human beings, we're no strangers to dead dad jokes. And the fact that he and his friends made them.
Wait, is my dad dead?
Now, see, it's only okay when you're in the right audience, and we don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't know how many times we have to go over this, John. We can be dark as we want, but we have to like make sure the audience is right for it, okay?
My favorite was when we did Miami Connection live, and I got the letter from my father, and I said, "Oh wait, he's dead," and the audience went, "Oh."
Further proof that I can't take you anywhere. So, but I thought that the dialogue was appropriate. I thought that a lot of it was really well done. I thought that the kind of the coming apart of the family when he did have that moment where his relationship with his mom kind of broke, where she kind of walked away from both him and her boyfriend for a while because they get in a huge fight. I thought the fight between him and Bill, where they're like, where he throws Pete Davidson in the pool in their backyard. Yeah. That was real funny. There was a lot of it where they weren't really playing stuff for laughs purposely, and I thought that that's what really made things funny. I thought that they were very human throughout the whole film, and I thought that's where it really shone. Because sometimes life is just absurd and ridiculous, and that's what made me laugh the most. I forget he had these insults for Pete Davidson's like actual appearance.
Because he's like what, like 6'4"? He's a really tall,
big guy, and he's real skinny. And some of the insults, which usually I'm not this shallow, but there were a couple of insults about Pete's appearance that just absolutely murdered me. What was it that the girlfriend called him, like an anorexic panda or something? Yeah. Just and they're just like tossing out these insults, just like, oh, it just made me laugh. And just human behavior in general, I thought was what really, it was all very subtle, where he treats his like on again, off again girlfriend. Would we call her like a slammy, I guess? They were just sort of like sex buddies. And they were just, they were just like, just kind of hooking up, and she wanted more. And he, they got in a big fight because he didn't invite her to his little sister's graduation party. And so to make him jealous,
because he wasn't thoughtful enough to realize that was a big thing.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to be a jerk about it. It just didn't occur to him.
Yeah,
and so she was real mad, and to make him jealous, she goes to the restaurant where she knows he works, and gets in like her nicest outfit, makes sure to like find somebody on like Tinder or whatever, and goes to like on a date and everything. And the idea that she did that just to make him jealous, we don't know this until she admits it to him. Like, that's so human. Like, that's what people would do in real life. And the fact that she didn't even know this guy, and she just left because she was so mad at Scott. And he's like, well, what do I say to the guy? She's like, I don't know. I met him 10 minutes ago. And she just storms out. Like, those were the moments I thought that were the funniest.
Well, it's interesting that IMDb, like somebody that just a random person like that gave a review of this film called, it's a funny, wholesome, and relatable experience. And I know that some people might be turned off by maybe seeing a film like this because they think, oh, it's going to be full of like, horses farting or pooping on people and dick jokes and, really like blind kids getting hit, by baseball bats.
Is this what Judd Apatow is to you?
No. I just mean like, it's going to be a lot of sophomoric humor. Like, if I'm going to an Andy Samberg movie or, an early Adam Sandler or something. But no, it's an extremely thoughtful movie. And it doesn't seem like a Judd Apatow movie. I'm not a huge Judd Apatow fan. I fell in love with 40-Year-Old Virgin like everybody else. I thought like Knocked Up was all right, but like I haven't overly liked a Judd Apatow movie in a very, very long time. But yeah, I think that this movie stands on its merit because of Pete and kind of not because Judd Apatow did anything. I think it's because he was reined in a little bit.
Yeah, and Pete helped write it, right?
Yeah, it was written by him, Judd Apatow, and somebody that I don't recognize.
A third name. Yeah, you're correct. And I think that is the movie's strength because, like I said,
Dave Sears.
Like I said, I'm not a big fan of, the struggling man baby, who has been overly coddled and is trying to find his place in the world. I'm not a big fan of that tale. But in this case, I thought it was a good story of someone who has no idea that he's struggling and finally gets that wake-up call of, dude, this isn't cute anymore. This isn't okay anymore. Like, when he's told that he's going to have to move out of his mom's house, his character is actually shocked. And it's like,
he
wait,
basically becomes homeless for a little while.
Yeah, and he's like,
sleeping
wait,
on benches and
he's
shit.
like, wait, this isn't working?
Yeah.
Like, wait, why isn't this working? I live here. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be living here. This isn't right. So I did think that the material was well handled. He actually goes to work at a firehouse. I liked that he didn't just become a firefighter like his dad. I thought that would have been too scripted. I thought that connecting with that part of himself was interesting and kind of seeing what his dad was like. Steve Buscemi's in this, who actually knew Pete's father. We think, right? We look
Steve
into
Buscemi,
that?
he was obviously a retired firefighter by the time 9/11 rolled around.
In real life.
Yeah, in real life. I think he was, part-time, one of those like honorary firefighters for life or whatever, something of that nature. Maybe an actual firefighter can tell me. But it was a matter of, 9/11 happened and he went to the fire stations and he suited up. So Steve,
which has, not that he needs my respect, but I can't tell you how awesome that is. Like, you don't see that kind of grit in people anyway, but to see that out of like some Hollywood actor, I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, Laine, I would think it'd be very interesting to kind of look at, because I don't think like man babies coming into their own stories are going anywhere. I do think it's very fascinating to see as the world changes, how these stories change. Mm-hmm. And like, you have to admit, this is a hell of a lot more like progressive and thoughtful and intelligent than Billy Madison.
Oh my God, of course.
Which is like 20 some years ago.
And I'd like to say that like, on the flip side of that, I mean, there are some women versions of this story too. Like, I know that this is a lot of like what Girls was about. Lena Dunham, I know she did this with Tiny Furniture as well with her debut. I hate Lena Dunham anyway, but I'm not just like shitting on men babies. I know that there's like also lady baby versions of this story. We just see it with men more, especially if we're going to look at Judd Apatow movies. It's
easy because like, that old, and I know that this is kind of more based on, male toxicity, the idea that women mature faster than men, aka men are allowed to misbehave longer. But I do feel that like to some degree, men are stupider longer. So it's much easier to do it with men.
Oh no, there's just no expectations.
Yeah,
And
there you go. Yeah, there's a reason for it. But like, we used to bartend, and like the guys that came in were some of them were the dumbest people you ever met. And like, I don't really remember any complete and total asshole women. There maybe were some that drank too much, but not like any ones that would come in like screaming and throwing chairs at each other and acting like complete morons like the guys were. So I just think it's easier to do this story of like, when are you moving out of your mom's house? Oh, I don't know, man. And spilling SpaghettiOs on their shirt. And
yeah. It's tiresome.
Yeah. Well, society is tiresome.
Amen to that.
Of all of our processes in the world, growing up, the economy, politics. Speaking of politics, Jon Stewart's movie.
Not a bad transition. Not a bad one.
Obviously forced.
A little. I mean, I was going to give it to you, but since you did mention it, yes, it was a little bit.
Yeah, and it's interesting that like I wondered if we, right before we get into Jon Stewart, we should have talked about King of Staten Island, because God, it's like a month old now. But like,
number one, time is meaningless.
Yeah, time is
in
meaningless.
the age of the Rona.
And I don't think that people like just jump on it when they have it this way as much as they do. And maybe that's another reason that they don't release some of these movies. They don't think that people will check them out. So, although I will tell you that a lot of people, something like big like Hamilton, which is like the theater version of Endgame, when that was available, everybody's like, oh, I got to get Disney Plus, or I'm going to sit down. I already have Disney Plus. I'm going to sit down the day it comes out. So there are some things that people would wait. And, maybe these movies are just a little too indie and niche for some people. That, I was thinking about checking it out. Oh, I'll get around to it, But I think that, I wonder if that's another reason why they hold off on releasing those at a certain time. But yeah, I would think that a lot of people still haven't seen it. So maybe like our recommendation, I would say I totally recommend it. Unless you hate Pete Davidson, I would say that this movie is very fun.
Honestly, even if you hate Pete Davidson, I don't think that would stop you from enjoying this movie. Mm-hmm. Like I said, his comedy for me, hit or miss. And I did not like his last comedy special. I didn't really think it was that funny. I thought his style was very uncomfortable. I didn't really think it was funny. I'm more of a John Mulaney girl. That guy cracks my shit up. I think he's funny as shit.
Does it have to be between Pete and John?
Not necessarily, but I was thinking of another SNL alum on Netflix, so bite me.
Writer, alum.
Yeah, well, he's also hosted, so bite me again. But anyway, I think if you don't like Pete Davidson, I think that you may even find something endearing about Scott, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, would very much recommend it. And I would recommend this one as well, not to jump the gun, but I very much like Jon Stewart's Irresistible. And you know what this makes me think of right away when is that really stupid Will Ferrell movie where it was him and Zach Galifianakis.
I know. I was thinking that too.
I can't remember what it was called. Like that movie.
The Campaign?
Campaign or something like
that. I think
yeah.
that's what it was called.
But that movie was...
I have a tiny computer that can tell me. I'll look it up.
But that movie, was the Step Brothers version of this movie, because this movie was fairly subtle in its approach. Its humor was not over the top.
Yeah, The Campaign was 2012. That was a long time ago. Jay Roach directed.
Okay, that makes sense, because that's the Hangover guy.
Is it? Yeah, probably. Wait, no, is it? No. He did Meet the Parents and Austin Powers.
Whatever. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Whatever he says.
But anyways, this movie actually reminds me more of The Candidate, the Robert Redford movie from 1972. Well, that movie wasn't exactly funny. It was satirical. It was like a satirical drama, if you will. But this movie had that kind of more subtle humor. I mean, there were a few outrageous jokes, but this movie is more of like, if you're into the whole, like, our politics are a sham and our media is a sham kind of thing, then this is for you. If that kind of thing bores you, like, there's no baby falling out of a window joke.
This movie's humor was very sly. It was very dry. There was no big, like, pops of humor. There wasn't really what I would call jokes, which sounds so stupid now that I've said it out loud. Yeah. But like there was humor throughout. There was humor throughout, but not in terms of like setup, joke, punchline in that sense. There was a lot of things going on in this movie that I think you do need to know a little bit about politics to really appreciate it. And maybe, like John said, I think
How screwed up the system is.
I think you need to hate politics a little bit to appreciate this movie. Honestly,
Well, that's most people, but
honestly, I thought that the cast was a lot of very talented people. I was surprised at the names, honestly.
Rose Byrne, Steve Carell,
Natasha Lyonne, Topher Grace out of nowhere. I was like, dude. Yeah. What's that guy been doing? Steve Carell was in this, and it was nice to see not Michael Scott.
Well, the thing is, like, Steve Carell, to me, he takes on a lot of very challenging roles because I think he's trying to prove that he's not just Michael Scott and Date Night and, that, or, Get Smart. But the thing is, I think he's best in his wheelhouse when, like, if he's gonna play a quote unquote dramatic role, like in this movie was a dramedy. I think it's best when has inklings of Michael Scott. Like, I loved the movie Foxcatcher. It was one of my favorite movies that came out that year. But like his performance to me was a hint distracting. And I don't know if it was the prosthetics or the voice he was doing, or if maybe he was just trying too hard.
He was trying very hard.
But there are times where, like, this guy seems like a highly intelligent, thoughtful Michael Scott, which I know is like, well, that just defeats every description of Michael Scott. But if you saw the movie, you would know what I mean. But yeah, Mackenzie Davis is in it. Chris Cooper is the secondary star. I think it's between him and Steve Carell.
I've never seen Chris Cooper in a role like this,
where he's not like a creepy psychopath.
Literally every movie I've seen Chris Cooper in, he's been a mustache twirling white collar villain in a suit.
Sometimes he's a blue collar villain.
No, I've only ever seen him as a white collar villain. Wasn't he in that movie with Ryan Gosling that we saw very early when we were dating? Wasn't that him in that movie?
Was that Gosling? Yeah, it was 2006 or 7.
Yeah, it was like right when we first started dating.
I think it was Ryan Phillippe. I'm not sure.
Was it Ryan Phillippe? I don't know.
We'll look it up. We're
doing that old people thing. Yeah. Wasn't he in that thing?
It was 07. We went to dinner first, and you had the scallops. It's weird to see him as kind of like a whimsical, kind of thoughtful character, and the premise is fairly simple. So like, Steve Carell is a Democratic spinster, kind of like James Carville. And the thing is, they find candidates and they find the way to run campaigns and run ads and how to present the person, tell them what to say, like how to stage their public appearances, etc. And Rose Byrne is the Republican version, kind of his like nemesis, so to speak. And one day, Steve Carell and his team sees a speech from this small town guy, really kind of really folksy, kind of the look that you think is typically reserved for conservatives, and he spews all this really thoughtful, like woken, liberal ideals, and then Steve Carell gets the idea that like, oh my god, we can have a cowboy Democrat, and so
it's kind of like that whole Joe the Plumber thing, right? Where they like make an everyman kind of like famous for the party, right?
Yeah. Well, Joe the Plumber, don't you know? Oh, she's Sarah Palin.
Right.
But and so they go down there, and he just basically starts to try to take over and
remind me what like state with cows we're in. Is it Wisconsin?
Yes, it's Wisconsin. It's near they're outside of Madison, and I don't know if the town they picked is a real town or
no. I'm not sure either.
Yeah, but
it's a real small town.
Yeah. Like there's like they have dial-up internet, if there's any internet at all. Like there's a point where they're doing their campaign thing at the school in a minivan because they actually have Wi-Fi there.
That is a funny joke actually, where they're kicked off school property because they're like, we don't really like strangers on school property.
Yeah, a bunch of like middle-aged white dudes with no kids.
Pretty great.
But the idea is that like Steve Carell is a bourgeois guy. And what's so nice about this movie is that Jon Stewart it's not liberals are great and conservatives are stupid. No, it's when people become extremes, liberals are stupid and so are conservatives.
Right, because what it comes down to then is that they're trying to get Chris Cooper's character to run and win the mayoral race. Mayoral race in this small town. Yeah. So then Rose Byrne blows into town to try to get the conservative incumbent mayor,
because she sees what they're up to.
To stay in the position.
Because it's more of that Steve Carell sees the bigger picture. If this guy becomes mayor, then they can run him for governor, and if they run for governor, they can run him for president. he's using this person and using this town for basically to play his game of political chess. Because unfortunately, as the movie points out, like, this is how your candidates are selected for you. You don't see these people and go, boy, we're going to encourage that person to run, I reckon. No, it's these spin doctors. Like, they make these people for you.
Yeah, it's like these big puppeteers, like, making this, like, whole game.
Unless it's Bernie Sanders, who actually just came into contact his own way, and then the media blacked him out because they didn't want him to have any power. Whoa, sorry, Bernie bro, going off again.
I miss Bernie.
I love you, Bernie. But
Bernie.
But yeah, so, the idea is that he is an out of touch, like, bourgeoisie, snotty, liberal, uptight doofus. And then Rose Byrne is just basically the devil.
I thought it was a shame. I really didn't think that Jon Stewart did Rose Byrne a lot of justice here. I felt like she wasn't used enough. And I felt like she wasn't allowed a lot of freedom. I felt like something about her performance just like kind of missed for me. I don't mean to completely disagree with you, but I thought that there was a chance that maybe because Rose Byrne does come from like a level of improv in a comic background, I wondered if Jon Stewart gave her too much freedom. Really? Because there was a lot of decisions. Like, I doubt that scene where she is just being like sexy mean, that like, not really sexy, but like almost using sexuality in a cruel way to Steve Carell and then licks his face. That seemed like a man wrote it to me. Oh, see, that seems like she made that choice. I don't see that on the page. That seemed like a man wrote it. I don't see that on the page. Seemed like a man. Especially since the rest of the movie is very subtle. It just seemed like Rose Byrne was improv and went with the moment. Interesting. That seemed to me like a man had written that. I didn't feel like someone would do that in the moment. Interesting. Yeah, and this is also a very much a fish out of water since it is such a small town. Like he's Washington what Dave. Washington Gary. Yeah, or DC Gary. DC Gary. Because they all have like nicknames for people. Because like he literally just stops at a bar because there's like a place to stay above when he gets there. And then like the next morning, everybody in the town knows him, because the word got out. Yeah. And he's like used to like riding a Tesla, in, what, DC, right? Yeah. He's in DC, and just being really bougie and, just like living the city life and just doesn't know how to react to these people. Yeah. There's a great scene where he goes to this like coffee shop where the woman who runs it has some pastries to give to Chris Cooper's character, and who's the candidate, and she just she pushes a coffee on to Gary with cream and sugar, which is not how he takes his coffee, and gives him John, what is it, like a strudel or something? I forget what it is, but it was like fresh baked that day. Yeah. He doesn't want it, because he's like real stuffy, and he's probably on like a diet or something. But he gets into the car and he eats the strudel or whatever it is. He eats it and it's like warm looking and blueberry, and like you can just like see the butter in it, and he eats it and he's like, oh fuck, and it's just like, I can't do it justice, but it's just like the best thing he's ever eaten. It's so funny, just like how he's kind of succumbing to like some of the charms of like this different side of life. I thought that was like a really nice moment in the movie. Yeah, and it's hard to kind of talk about this movie because like there's a lot leading up to like a fun ending, and it has a lot more structure, I think, than the King of Staten Island does. But again, it's also a study of our flawed system, of the process of getting this guy groomed to be in this candidacy and stuff. This one's a lot more plot structured. It is a lot more plot structured, but there's a lot to unpack here, And like, but I don't want to give away too much because like, we're not going to spoil it. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't think so. Do you look horrified? Okay. No, you're right. We shouldn't, because people could probably still see it. I'm guessing that normally when we do like our review of Endgame or something, like we know everybody listening has seen it. We're waiting. Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't. We shouldn't, because the whole idea of this episode is that we're saying that like, if you've seen these, we shouldn't, because you should go see it. I will say, go see it. You mean stay home and see it? You should. I said you should see it. I don't think I said go. Did I? Did I say go? Did I?
Roll the tape.
Did I stutter? No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys should see it though, because as good as this movie was and the lessons learned up to a certain point, the ending I thought was even better than I would have guessed to this, because there is a really nice bit to this ending that has a great commentary, I think, on our government setup system process. I don't know.
Scam.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and this movie, I would say, like, well, we said King of Staten Island was thoughtful. It does have a lot of like fuck jokes and sex jokes and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more, if you're looking for that, then, you know, that's the way to go. Like, this movie this Irresistible film is very adult. Like, it's not that there's not a lot of like humor in it, but it's a little more sophisticated.
Oh yeah. That's a good word.
You know, this is more network TV, while King of Staten Island is cable.
Yeah.
Neither was HBO, but
well put, sir.
But yeah, I liked King of Staten Island very much. But I would say that that movie, it went on a little too long. But this
I
one,
thought they both were a little long.
really, I didn't mind the pace at all with this one, and I'm usually the king of cut out 10 or 15 minutes, but
Yeah.
I didn't mind the running time of this.
I think I'm just antsy as shit anymore because time has no meaning, and like I'm just an anxious ball of fuck all the time.
It's been the longest year and the fastest year at the same time. Like, somehow we're in mid-July.
Fastest, I'm not with you, but okay. I think I've aged 4 years since January.
No, I'm saying it's somehow, I know it's oxymoronic to say, but it's the longest year and the fastest one.
I mean, it's not going quickly for me,
Yeah. I think it's because I just don't look at the calendar that it feels like, oh wow, how we're already here. You know?
Maybe.
You know. But yeah, it's all the characters are thoughtful. It's just, it does seem like, I don't know if Jon Stewart is just being getting a little bit older, but then again, he was never one for like outrageous humor anyway. So I think this is just kind of his like subtle smart guy humor. You know?
I mean, as much as I do like a lot of what Jon Stewart's done, he does like being the smartest guy in the room.
Which he usually is. I mean, so it kind of
guess.
makes sense. You know,
I don't know.
He changed late night the most since Letterman.
Right.
And I would say that Jon Stewart's a genius in the sense that everything, you know, the way that a lot of people define a genius is everything that came before him seems irrelevant and everything that came after him is a copy of him. And every late night show now is just Jon Stewart's Daily Show.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if he's the greatest filmmaker I've ever seen.
No.
But I mean, this was good.
Yeah, it was fine. He was fine.
It was fun. You know, it reminds me of like Wag the Dog.
Yeah.
In the sense that like that was a great movie for its time, but nobody like puts it on their list of like 10 favorite or top 10 best political satire. Maybe 10 political. I don't know.
Agreed.
But this movie will fall in the line of like Wag the Dog.
Agreed.
And movies like that. But no, it's definitely worth checking out. Like,
maybe when it's like $4 to rent it.
As we're saying here, if it's your cup of tea, then it's worth the 20. If you're a little hesitant on it, maybe save the $20. You know.
Yeah, wait until it's like $4.
But yeah, I'm glad we didn't see any stinkers.
Yeah, that would have sucked. $20
yeah.
for a bad movie. Ugh.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do this again. We'll have to see if anything's going to come out. Because like I recently saw a video on YouTube where I saw some of these dates and like I feel that those are just placeholders. Where it's like, okay, these are late August, and then they're going to be they're never going to stop. It's going to be late September, and that's going to be mid-November, and it's going to be Christmas time, and that's going to be March next year. You know, it's just
well, that's the thing, and I think that's like, I mean, not to get like crazy deep, but that's like the thing that's been really tough with the virus and with quarantine. Like we just, or even just like things slowly opening up, but certain things like not being able to open up, we just can't really plan for anything. We're just kind of like hanging out, just hanging out,
just
holding tight,
just improving like Rose Byrne when she licked Steve Carell's face.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, or it was written on the page by a dude.
Rose Byrne, if you would like to come on the show.
Oh my God, Rose Byrne, please tweet us and tell us if it was your choice or Jon Stewart's. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things like we're just holding tight and we can't really see what the future holds. I mean, all of the schools in our state just postponed all of the fall sports. You know, our alma mater, Edinburgh University. Go Burrow. They just postponed their football season, and they say postponed, But I feel like that's cancellation,
Yeah.
especially since it snows until May in Edinburgh.
Oh, sticking it to
Tell me I'm wrong. But I mean, we're trying to plan, but we can't.
Yeah.
We just don't know. We can't. And that's I think what's got Hollywood crap in its pants right now, because they can't make any plans.
Especially since we can't get anything right here either. But, that's a whole nother podcast. Like, that's John and Elaine complaining about how shitty our response to COVID-19 is.
I am so tired of complaining
Available wherever
about it,
you find
actually.
podcasts.
I can't even. I'm just tired of complaining about it. I'm over it.
Yeah. But, I would recommend both, but obviously take what we said there, like if that's your style movie or if that's your style movie.
Depends.
But obviously, we chose 2 comedies. Maybe next time we'll pick 2 dramas or 2 horrors or something. But
Ooh, of course.
if we go this route again. But we'll have to see if anything else is coming out, for the love of God. I think the new
That'd be
Tom
nice.
Hanks movie is supposed to be coming out. He's
Oh.
heartbroken it's not going to be in the movie theater, but it's about World War II, obviously, because it's
of
Tom
course.
Hanks. Yeah. But yeah. So I guess that we have come to the end, kids.
Wow. Well, where can they find you at on the Twitter machine?
What the hell is Twitter? The Unreal J-Wolves.
Great. You can find me at LA_Croft. Also, if you would like to reach out to Brian and ask why weren't you here? He's at Brian Coddington. He also runs the Psycho Show Twitter. If you have anything you would like to talk to us about, a grievance with John you'd like to air, just in general.
What, from the
you
Will-
look so shocked.
What, from the Will Ferrell fans out there?
No, I'm just joking. But yeah, give us a rate or review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever wonderful podcasts are not sold, because they're free. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Quick, Laine, say something funny.
Something funny.
Good night, Gracie.